Hello from Mindset Daily, wishing you a day full of health, peace, and happiness. Thank you for watching the Mindset Daily channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support us. Thank you so much.
Have you ever felt like you're constantly in motion but going nowhere? What if I told you that being busy might be the biggest distraction from what really matters? And what if the very thing you're proud of, your packed schedule, is actually holding you back from real progress? Being busy and being productive are not the same thing, not even close. And failing to recognize the difference might be the biggest mistake you're making right now. When I was a young man, I had a mentor who completely changed the way I saw the world. One day, after watching me run around, juggling multiple tasks, always on the move, he paused and said, "Jim, you seem awfully busy." I quickly replied, "Yes, sir, I am." I was proud of how much I was doing. Then he asked me a question I'll never forget. He said, "But are you productive?" That simple question stopped me in my tracks. I had to think about it deeply. What I realized that day shaped my life. Activity is not necessarily accomplishment. Just because you're moving doesn't mean you're achieving. Being occupied doesn't automatically mean you're being effective. Let me tell you something powerful. Time is your most precious commodity. You can't save it, you can't store it, you can't borrow more of it, and you certainly can't buy it back. The truth is, you're going to spend your time one way or another. The real question is how you're spending it. Most people are spending time, but they're not investing it. And there's a big difference between the two. When you spend time, it's gone. But when you invest it, intentionally, wisely, it can come back multiplied in results, growth, and impact. So ask yourself, are you just spending your time, or are you truly investing it? That's a question worth asking every single day. Here's something fascinating about productivity. It's not about doing more. It's about doing what matters most. The things that move the needle in your life and your work. The tasks that truly count. Over the years, I've met so many people who've mastered the art of staying busy. Their calendars are full, their days are packed with meetings, and their to-do lists are never-ending. They're constantly in motion, yet when the day ends, they struggle to point to anything meaningful they've actually accomplished. Does that sound familiar? It's because busyness creates the illusion of productivity. It makes us feel important. It gives us something to say when someone asks, "How are you?" We respond almost proudly, "Oh, I'm so busy," as if that's a badge of honor. But is it? But here's the uncomfortable truth. Busyness is not a badge of honor. In many cases, it's actually a red flag, an indicator of poor planning, scattered focus, and priorities that are all out of order. Over the years, I've noticed there are generally two types of people when it comes to how they spend their time. The first type are like butterflies. They're constantly in motion, flitting from one task to another, rarely landing in one place long enough to make a real impact. They always seem busy, always doing something, but when the day ends, what have they truly accomplished? Then there's the second type, the bees. Bees operate with purpose. They know exactly what they're after. They stay focused on a single task, giving it their full attention until they've gathered every bit of value from it. Only then do they move on. They don't just work, they work with direction. So let me ask you, are you a butterfly or a bee? This brings us to a powerful truth about productivity. It's not measured by how many tasks you complete, but by the value of the results you produce. It's about the outcomes you create, the contributions you make, and the impact of your efforts. Years ago, I learned something that transformed the way I approach my time. It's called the Pareto Principle, or more commonly, the 80-20 rule. This principle suggests that 80% of your outcomes come from just 20% of your activities. Take a moment to reflect on that. If you could identify that crucial 20% of your work that produces the bulk of your results, wouldn't it make sense to double down on those activities? Of course it would. It's logical. Yet as we all know, common sense doesn't always translate to common practice. Most people, unfortunately, do the opposite. They invest 80% of their time and energy on low-value tasks that only bring in 20% of their results. Then they wonder why they're stuck, tired, and unfulfilled. They're not unmotivated. They're simply busy doing the wrong things. Let me illustrate this with a simple image. Imagine you're a woodcutter, and your job is to chop down as many trees as possible. All day long, you're swinging your axe, working harder and harder. But you never take the time to stop and sharpen your blade. What happens? Over time, your effort yields less. You get tired. Your results diminish. That's exactly what happens when we get trapped in a cycle of constant activity. We're so consumed by doing that we forget to pause, reflect, and ask ourselves, what am I really doing and why? So now, let me ask you something important. What is the single most valuable activity in your life or business right now? What's the one thing that if you did it consistently and did it well, could create the most powerful positive shift? Do you have it in mind? Good. Now, here's the harder question. How much time did you actually spend on that activity yesterday? Last week? Last month? If you're like most people, probably not nearly enough. Why? Because you were busy, caught up in tasks that felt urgent, but weren't truly important. And that distinction between urgency and importance is where real productivity begins. Urgent tasks scream for your attention. They show up as ringing phones, unread emails, last-minute requests. They feel pressing. But important tasks? They often sit quietly in the background, waiting for you to notice them. Yet they're the ones that shape your future. Important tasks, the ones that truly contribute to our long-term mission, values, and goals, are often quiet. They don't interrupt us. They don't shout or demand attention. Instead, they wait, silently, patiently, waiting for us to realize just how much they matter. And yet, tragically, many people spend their entire day responding to what feels urgent while completely ignoring what is important. Then they wonder why they're not getting any closer to their dreams, why they feel like they're running in place. Let me share a story that beautifully illustrates this idea. A university professor once visited a Zen master, eager to learn about Zen. From the moment he arrived, the professor began speaking nonstop, talking about his theories, his knowledge, and all the ideas he had collected over the years. The Zen master listened quietly and politely. Then, without saying a word, he began to pour tea into the professor's cup. He poured until the cup was full, and then he kept pouring. Tea spilled over the rim, onto the table, and then dripped onto the floor. Startled, the professor exclaimed, "Stop! The cup is full. No more will go in." The Zen master looked at him and said, "Like this cup, you are full of your own opinions and assumptions. How can I show you Zen unless you first empty your cup?" That image stayed with me, because in many ways, we are that cup. We're so full of busyness, of noise, of obligations, of low-value tasks, that there's no room left for what truly matters. We're overloaded with activity, yet starved for real accomplishment. So what do we need to do? We need to empty our cups. We need to intentionally create space. And sometimes that means learning to say no, not to things that are obviously bad, but to things that are just good, so we can make room for what's great. I remember one of the most productive individuals I ever met. I once asked him what his secret was. He smiled and said, "Jim, I don't have a to-do list. I have a not-to-do list." That caught me off guard. He explained that he had identified all the activities that drained his energy or distracted him from his true goals, and he made a conscious decision not to engage with them. That's discipline. That's focus. And that's what real productivity looks like. Now, I want to share a few strategies that can help you escape the trap of constant busyness and step into a life of intentional productivity. First, clarify your values and long-term goals. You can't be productive if you don't know what you're working toward. Ask yourself, what matters most to me? What am I really trying to build? Where do I want to be in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years? Once you're clear on that vision, it becomes much easier to separate what's meaningful from what's just noise. Second, identify your high-value activities, the ones that make the biggest impact. These are the 20% of your efforts that generate 80% of your outcomes. They're the core actions that actually move you forward. Prioritize them above everything else. Third, and this one's crucial, schedule your priorities instead of prioritizing your schedule. Most people glance at their calendar, see what's already there, and then try to squeeze important tasks into the leftover time. But truly productive people do the opposite. They decide what absolutely must get done and then build their calendar around those priorities. That's how you stop reacting and start leading. Fourth, learn to say no, and don't underestimate how powerful this can be. In fact, this might be the single most important productivity skill you'll ever develop. Every time you say yes to one thing, you're automatically saying no to something else. That's the trade-off. So make sure you're not saying yes to the wrong things. Things that pull you away from your true priorities. Fifth, eliminate, automate, or delegate anything that doesn't qualify as a high-value activity. If something doesn't need to be done at all, cut it. If it can be handled by a tool or system, automate it. And if someone else can do it just as well or better, delegate it. This frees you up to focus on what really moves the needle. Sixth, focus on one thing at a time. Multitasking may sound impressive, but in reality, it's a myth. Your brain isn't built to handle two cognitively demanding tasks at once. When you try to multitask, what you're really doing is rapidly switching from one task to another, and each switch drains your mental energy. The result? You become less efficient, more prone to mistakes, and ultimately, less productive. True effectiveness comes from concentrated effort on a single task. Seventh, and this is often overlooked, take care of yourself. Your productivity is directly tied to your physical and mental well-being. That means getting enough sleep, fueling your body with the right foods, moving your body regularly, and creating moments to recharge emotionally and mentally. You can't pour from an empty cup, and you can't do great work if you're burned out. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, Jim, all of this sounds great in theory, but you don't know my situation. I have too many responsibilities, too many people relying on me, too many demands on my time. And I hear that. I really do. I've been there. But here's what I've come to understand. The busier you are, the more important it is to prioritize. The more responsibilities you carry, the more selective you need to become about where your time and energy go. Otherwise, the urgent will always crowd out the important. The truth is, no one achieves real success by trying to do everything. Success doesn't come from being constantly busy. It comes from doing the right things and doing them with excellence. Let me tell you about a conversation I had a few years ago with a young entrepreneur. He was working 16-hour days, 7 days a week. He was completely drained, physically, mentally, emotionally. He was juggling countless projects, burning the candle at both ends, and still not seeing the results he wanted. He looked at me and said, Jim, I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. So I asked him to list everything he was working on. He rattled off dozens of projects, ideas, and initiatives, each one demanding his time and attention. I listened patiently, then said something that made him pause. If everything is a priority, I told him, then nothing is. I asked him, which of these projects, if completed successfully, would make the others easier or even unnecessary? He sat there, thinking. Slowly, he pointed to just 3 items on the list. Focus on those, I said. Put everything else on hold or delegate it if you can. He looked at me like I was crazy. But what about all these other things? He asked. They're all important. I looked at him and said, maybe all those projects are important. But are they the most important? Are they the ones that will actually move the needle in your business right now? He paused, then nodded. Reluctantly, he agreed to give my approach a try. 3 months later, he called me back, and his tone was completely different. His business had grown by 40%. He was working just 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and he told me he felt happier and healthier than he had in years. So what changed? He stopped being busy and started being productive. He zeroed in on a few things that truly mattered and made the bold decision to let go of the rest. And the results? They spoke for themselves. There's a huge difference between motion and progress. Just because you're in motion doesn't mean you're actually moving forward. Just because your day is packed doesn't mean you're producing meaningful results. Think about a rocking chair. It moves constantly, doesn't it? But does it ever go anywhere? Some of us are just like that chair, always in motion, always busy, but not getting any closer to our goals. So let me ask you, are you like that rocking chair? Are you mistaking motion for progress, activity for achievement, busyness for productivity? I challenge you. Take a step back and really examine how you're spending your time. Are you investing it in tasks that align with your deepest values and bring you closer to your long-term goals? Or are you just staying busy to give yourself the illusion of momentum? At the end of your life, I promise you this, you won't look back and wish you'd replied to more emails, sat in more meetings, or crossed more items off your endless to-do list. What you'll wish for is more quality time with your loved ones, with your passions, with your purpose. Because ultimately, that's what real productivity is about. It's not about doing more things. It's about doing more of the right things. Now let's talk about something that affects all of us, the common time wasters that keep us spinning in circles. Let's start with number 1, meetings. How many times have you sat through a meeting and thought, this could have been an email? How often do you find yourself in meetings with no clear agenda, no clear direction, and worse, no clear reason why you're even there? Meetings, when done right, can be powerful tools for collaboration and clarity. But when done wrong, they can be one of the biggest drains on your productivity. So here's a simple rule of thumb. Before accepting a meeting invitation, ask yourself 3 questions. Is my presence truly necessary? What's the purpose of this meeting? Could this be handled in a more efficient way? If the answers aren't crystal clear, maybe that meeting isn't the best use of your time. Next up, email. Did you know the average professional spends nearly 28% of their workday reading and replying to emails? That's over 2 hours a day. And yet, how much of that time is actually helping you reach your goals? How many of those messages are truly essential? Here's a more efficient approach. Instead of checking your inbox throughout the day, schedule set times to process email. Maybe once in the morning and once again in the afternoon. And when you do check your inbox, follow the handle it once rule. Reply to it, delegate it, or delete it. Don't let it linger. Don't let it steal your focus. Don't fall into the trap of reading an email and then marking it as unread just to come back to it later. That habit only creates double the work and twice the mental clutter. Handle it once and move on. Let's talk about the third major time waster, social media and digital distractions. These are the quiet, almost invisible killers of productivity. They sneak into your day in small increments. 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, but they add up fast. Before you realize it, an hour has vanished while you've been mindlessly scrolling through your feed. And what do you usually gain from that time? Honestly, not much. If you catch yourself reaching for your phone the moment you feel a pause or a bit of boredom, take that as a warning sign. That reflex can quietly steal away hours of your focus and momentum. So what can you do? Start by setting clear boundaries. Use tools that help you protect your time. There are apps available that block distracting websites during your working hours. Or try something even simpler. Put your phone in another room when you need to focus deeply. Next up is a sneaky one, perfectionism. It might sound like a virtue, but in practice, it can be a major drain on your time. That voice that whispers, it's not quite ready yet, or I just need one more revision, can lead you into endless cycles of tweaking. You keep polishing and refining, thinking it needs to be perfect before you can move on. But here's the reality. Perfect is the enemy of done, and in most situations, done is better than perfect. Now, that doesn't mean settling for mediocrity. Striving for excellence should always be the standard. But there comes a point when the extra time spent trying to perfect something adds minimal value. Learn to spot that threshold. Trust yourself to deliver good work, and remember, you can always return later for improvements if needed. But progress delayed by perfectionism is still progress denied. Then there's lack of planning, a subtle but powerful productivity killer. You've heard the saying, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And it's absolutely true. Too many people dive into their day without a clear sense of direction. Instead of leading the day, they react to it. They respond to whatever shows up in their inbox or whatever problem seems most urgent in the moment. But what if you took just 5 or 10 minutes at the start of each morning to map things out? To ask yourself, what do I need to accomplish today? What matters most? What can I do during my peak energy hours to move closer to my goals? By creating a short, intentional plan, one that aligns with your values and bigger vision, you reclaim your day before it gets hijacked by distractions. And don't wait around for the perfect plan. Remember, a good plan today is always better than a perfect plan tomorrow. Don't let indecision keep you frozen. Make the best decision you can with the information you have, and adjust along the way. Finally, let's talk about one of the biggest hidden culprits of busyness, the inability to say no. This is where so many people slip, because saying yes feels easier. It feels polite. It feels like you're being helpful or supportive. But every yes you give has a cost in your time, your focus, your energy. Say yes to too many things, and suddenly your schedule is full of other people's priorities, not your own. That's why every yes should be intentional, not automatic. Before agreeing to anything, a request, an invitation, a new opportunity, pause and ask yourself, does this align with my values? Will it help me move toward my goals? Is this the best use of my time right now? If the answer to any of those questions is no, then your answer should probably be no too. If the answer to any of those questions is no, then your answer should be no as well. And here's something important to remember. You don't owe anyone an apology for protecting your time. Your time is your life, and you not only have the right, but also the responsibility to invest it wisely. Now, let's talk about something that's rarely mentioned in productivity conversations, but is absolutely essential: the power of rest and renewal. Productivity isn't about pushing yourself to be on all the time. It's not just about managing your hours. It's about managing your energy. And to do that well, you need to build intentional periods of rest and recovery into your daily, weekly, and yearly rhythm. Think of it this way. What happens if you drive your car endlessly without ever stopping to refuel? Eventually, you'll run out of gas, and the vehicle will come to a complete stop. The same principle applies to your energy. If you keep going without ever pausing to recharge, you're setting yourself up for burnout. Here's the fascinating part. When you intentionally incorporate rest into your schedule, you actually become more productive, not less. Your mind becomes clearer, your creativity gets sharper, your decision-making improves, and your capacity to focus increases. One approach I often recommend is creating a natural work-rest rhythm. Try working in focused blocks of 90 to 120 minutes, followed by a 15 to 30-minute break. And during that break, don't just scroll on your phone or glance at your inbox. Step away entirely. Do something different. Take a walk, stretch, meditate, chat with someone, read something that uplifts or inspires you. On a broader scale, you also need larger breaks, what I call deep renewal. Take at least one full day off every week. A day when you disconnect completely from work, emails, obligations. And don't wait until you're on the verge of burnout to take a vacation. Schedule regular breaks throughout the year, periods of time that truly refresh and restore your energy. The goal isn't to prove how long you can grind without stopping. The goal is sustain high performance over the long term. And that kind of performance requires rhythm, a healthy cycle of focused work and intentional rest. Now let's turn to another aspect of productivity that's often overlooked, but incredibly powerful: your environment. Your environment, physical, social, and digital, can either amplify your productivity or silently sabotage it. It can support your focus and discipline or constantly pull you toward low-value distractions. Start with your physical environment. Look around your workspace. Is it clean and organized, or cluttered and chaotic? Do you have everything you need within reach? Or are you constantly getting up to look for tools, notes, or files? Does the space you work in energize you, or does it drain your focus? The kind of work you do should shape the kind of space you create. Studies have consistently shown that your physical environment can significantly affect your ability to focus, think clearly, and stay productive. A cluttered space often leads to a cluttered mind. Disorganization creates small, constant distractions that quietly drain your energy and steal your time. So take a moment to evaluate your workspace. Is it set up to support your clarity and efficiency? Is everything you need easily accessible? A clean, intentional space isn't just about aesthetics. It's about optimizing your mental performance. Even small adjustments can have a big impact. But productivity isn't just about where you work. It's also about who you're around. Your social environment plays a critical role in shaping your mindset and momentum. Are you regularly surrounded by people who uplift you, those who encourage your growth, challenge your thinking, and support your goals? Or do you find yourself spending time with those who drain your energy, distract you from your priorities, or pull you away from your purpose? As I've said before, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. That's not just a clever quote, it's a reality. The people closest to you influence your thoughts, your habits, your expectations, and even your sense of what's possible. So choose your circle with intention. And let's not forget your digital environment, which, in today's world, may be just as powerful as your physical one. Is your phone or computer set up to help you stay focused? Or is it a constant source of interruptions? Have you taken time to turn off non-essential notifications? Are you using apps or systems to manage information flow so you're not drowning in a sea of alerts, updates, and distractions? Often, we underestimate just how much our environment shapes our behavior. But make no mistake, Small changes to your surroundings can lead to major improvements in your productivity. Now, let's shift to a concept that sits at the very heart of sustainable productivity: discipline. For many, the word discipline sounds harsh. It brings up thoughts of restriction or punishment. But in truth, discipline is none of those things. At its core, discipline is simply the ability to do what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, regardless of how you feel in the moment. Discipline is the bridge between your goals and your accomplishments. It's the structure that turns vision into action and potential into results. And here's something important. Discipline is not about forcing yourself to do things you hate. That's a misunderstanding. Real discipline is about aligning your daily actions with your deepest values and most meaningful goals. When you know what matters most, discipline becomes less of a chore and more of a conscious, empowered choice. You begin to act with purpose. You show up because you believe in the outcome, not because you're dragging yourself toward it. And like any muscle, discipline grows stronger the more you use it. Each time you follow through, especially when it's hard, you reinforce your internal strength. Eventually, it becomes second nature. What once felt like effort becomes automatic. So don't wait until the moment feels right or until motivation magically appears. Start now. Take the first step toward your most important goals, even if you don't feel ready. Because action often creates motivation, not the other way around. As the ancient Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu once said, "A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step." And that timeless wisdom still holds true today. Take that step, even if it feels small, even if you're not entirely motivated. Because often, the simple discipline to start is more powerful than the size or scope of what you begin. You don't need to feel completely ready. You just need to be willing to take action. That first move creates momentum, and that momentum builds confidence. But don't forget, discipline without direction is just drudgery. If you're not connecting your efforts to something meaningful, they'll eventually feel empty. So always anchor your disciplined actions to your greater purpose. Let them be fueled by the things that matter most to you. The people you care about, the vision you hold, the mission that gives your life meaning. That's how discipline becomes not just sustainable, but deeply fulfilling. Now, let's shift gears and dive into another vital, but often overlooked, pillar of productivity: decision-making. Every day, we're faced with countless choices, some big, some small. And with each decision, we're either moving closer to our goals or drifting further away. It's easy to underestimate how powerful those daily choices really are. But in the long run, the quality of your decisions determines the quality of your life. And certainly your productivity. Yet far too often, we make decisions on autopilot. We react to what's happening around us, rather than responding with thoughtfulness. Instead of letting our values and long-term vision guide us, we let emotions and urgency take over. Truly productive people are intentional decision makers. They create clarity in advance. They have strong internal criteria for what deserves their attention and what doesn't. They understand opportunity cost, that saying yes to one thing automatically means saying no to something else. One powerful way to elevate your decision-making is to create decision rules ahead of time. These are simple guidelines that help you avoid wasting time and energy on low-value choices. For instance, you might commit to never checking email before a certain hour in the morning, or decide to only attend meetings with a clear purpose and agenda, or always prioritize tasks that align with your most important goal. These decision rules simplify your life. They protect your time, and more importantly, they reduce decision fatigue, that mental exhaustion you feel after making too many choices in a day. With fewer low-impact decisions to wrestle with, you'll free up energy and focus for the ones that truly matter. But good decision-making doesn't end once the choice is made. After any significant decision, take time to reflect. Ask yourself, did the outcome match your expectations? If it didn't, why not? What could you learn from that result? The goal isn't to be perfect. It never is. It's to learn and grow, to become more aligned with your values and more effective in your actions with each experience. Now, let's talk about something that quietly robs people of their productivity every single day: fear. Fear takes many forms. Fear of failure, fear of success, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown. And each one has the power to paralyze us. Instead of facing what matters, we bury ourselves in tasks that feel safe but don't move us forward. We convince ourselves we're too busy, when in reality, we're just avoiding the uncomfortable. Fear of failure might be stopping you from starting that business, writing that book, or having that honest conversation you know you need to have. And surprisingly, fear of success can be just as paralyzing. Sometimes it's not the fear itself that stops us, but what we do in response to it. Just as you're approaching a breakthrough, fear of success can creep in and cause you to sabotage your own progress. Fear of rejection might hold you back from speaking up, sharing your ideas, or asking for support. Things that could actually move you forward. And fear of the unknown. That one keeps you stuck in the safety of the familiar, even when it's no longer serving you. Even when you know deep down it's time to grow. But here's the truth. Fear doesn't vanish. It doesn't disappear just because you wait it out or wish it away. Everyone feels fear. The difference lies in how we choose to respond to it. Truly productive people experience fear too, but they don't let it stop them. Instead, they act anyway. They've learned that courage isn't about eliminating fear. Courage is taking action in spite of it. And they've embraced a powerful truth. Action is the antidote to fear. Even the smallest step can weaken fear's grip. When you take action, no matter how small, you begin to realize the fear wasn't as big or as intimidating as it seemed. You build confidence. You gather momentum. You start to shift from feeling stuck to moving forward. So if fear is standing between you and your most productive self, acknowledge it. Don't bury it. Don't pretend it's not there. But don't hand over control either. Instead, take that first step, then another, and then another. And before long, you'll look back and see how far you've come. Not just in overcoming the fear, but in moving meaningfully toward your goals. Now, let's talk about a powerful mindset shift. One that can dramatically increase your productivity and change how you approach your work and your life. It's the shift from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset. A scarcity mindset tells you there's not enough time, not enough money, not enough opportunity. It creates a constant sense of anxiety and pressure. You start clinging to what you have, fearful to let go. You hesitate to delegate, to collaborate, or to try something new. You end up staying busy guarding your current position, instead of being productive building something better. In contrast, an abundance mindset tells a different story. It's the belief that there is enough time, enough resources, enough chances to grow, to learn, to thrive. This mindset breeds generosity. It opens you up to creativity. It encourages you to take smart, calculated risks. You begin to focus on what's possible instead of what might go wrong. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, Jim, that sounds good in theory, but you don't know my reality. I don't have enough time. I have more responsibilities than I can handle. And I understand. That feeling is real. But even if your time is limited, and let's face it, we all get the same 24 hours each day. How you perceive and use that time is entirely up to you. That's not about resources. It's about mindset and choice. When you're operating from scarcity mindset, time feels like your enemy. You're constantly racing the clock, always feeling like you're behind, never able to catch up. Every minute feels like a threat, a reminder that there's not enough. But when you begin to shift into an abundance mindset, something remarkable happens. You stop seeing time as something that's slipping away and start seeing it as a resource, something to be invested, managed, and even multiplied. Time becomes your ally, not your opponent. Now, that doesn't mean you ignore the realities of deadlines or that you refuse to set healthy boundaries. An abundance mindset doesn't make you careless. On the contrary, it helps you stay grounded in what's possible. It shifts your focus from obstacles to opportunities, from what's outside your control to what's within it. You stop just trying to preserve value and start intentionally creating it. And here's the fascinating part. Once you adopt an abundance mindset, you often discover you had more than you realized. More time, more ideas, more opportunities. It's not that those things magically appear. They were always there. But when you were stuck in scarcity thinking, you simply couldn't see them. Your perception blocked your potential. So take a moment and ask yourself honestly, are you making decisions from a mindset of scarcity or abundance? And how is that mindset shaping your productivity every single day? Now, let's shift into another critical area, one that has an enormous impact on your effectiveness but is often underestimated: the art of focus. In today's digital world, distractions are absolutely everywhere. Your phone buzzes. Your inbox lights up. Social media apps are constantly nudging you to check just one more thing. Ads pop up. Notifications flash. Your attention is pulled in a dozen directions every few minutes. In a world like this, it's a wonder we're able to focus at all. And yet, here's the truth. Deep, focused work is exactly where your highest value contributions are born. It's in those quiet, uninterrupted moments of concentration that we solve hard problems, generate creative ideas, and do the kind of work that really matters. So how do we develop this focus, especially in an environment designed to break it? Let me offer a few simple, yet powerful strategies. First, create a distraction-free environment. This sounds basic, but it's incredibly effective. Turn off unnecessary notifications on your phone and computer. Close out browser tabs you don't need. Set up your space so you're not constantly being pulled away by background noise or visual clutter. If you can, find a quiet area where your mind can settle into stillness. Second, practice mindfulness. Train yourself to stay present with the task in front of you. When your mind begins to drift, and it will gently bring your focus back. Don't judge the distraction. Just return, like building a muscle. The more you practice this, the stronger your attention becomes. Third, use time blocking. Schedule dedicated periods for deep, focused work, and then protect that time fiercely, just as you would an important meeting or appointment. During those blocks, commit to one task. Not two, not three, one. Give it your full presence. Fourth, take breaks and make them intentional. As I mentioned earlier, your brain isn't built to sustain deep focus for hours on end without rest. It simply wasn't designed that way. The key is to work in focused bursts, ideally 90 to 120 minutes, followed by short, intentional breaks. These breaks aren't a luxury. They're a requirement for mental recovery and long-term focus. Fifth, get enough sleep. This might sound obvious, but it's often overlooked. A sleep-deprived brain is a distracted brain. When you're running on empty, it becomes exponentially harder to stay focused, retain information, and make sound decisions. Prioritize sleep. Protect it like any other critical task. The quality of your work tomorrow starts with the quality of your rest tonight. Sixth, practice delayed gratification. In moments when you feel the itch to check your phone, scroll through social media, or open a new tab just for a second, pause. Take a deep breath. Remind yourself why you're doing what you're doing and how staying focused now will serve you later. Then, instead of giving in to the short-term dopamine hit of distraction, choose to stay with your task. That's how discipline is built, one decision at a time. Remember this. In today's world of constant notifications and instant access, the ability to focus deeply is not only rare, it's incredibly valuable. If you develop this skill, you'll stand out. You'll gain a significant edge in whatever career, business, or personal pursuit you're engaged in. Now, I want to share a concept that's completely transformed how I think about productivity, and that's the idea of seasons and rhythms. You see, productivity isn't a fixed state. It's not something you reach once and then hold on to forever. It ebbs and flows. There are natural cycles. Seasons of intense work, followed by seasons of rest, reflection, and even reset. There are daily rhythms, weekly cycles, monthly flows, and annual seasons that all influence how we perform. Understanding these rhythms and learning to work with them instead of fighting against them can make a dramatic difference in your effectiveness. Take your daily energy, for example. Most people have certain hours when they naturally feel more alert and focused. For some, it's early in the morning. For others, that focus comes later in the evening. The key is to identify your peak energy windows and reserve them for your most demanding, high-value work. Use your lower energy times for lighter tasks that don't require deep thinking. But doesn't stop there. There are also life seasons, times when it makes sense to push forward aggressively, and times when it's wiser to pull back and restore. Trying to maintain full throttle productivity every single day, month after month, is not only unrealistic. It's a guaranteed path to burnout. Think about a farmer. They don't harvest all year long. There's a time to plant, a time to nurture, a time to harvest, and a time to let the land rest. Each season plays a vital role, and none can be skipped if you want long-term success. The same principle applies to your work and your life. There will be seasons of deep productivity, seasons of growth and learning, seasons of rest and healing, and seasons of change or transition. All of them matter. All of them are necessary. The goal isn't to fight the rhythm, it's to embrace it. Recognize each season for what it is. Don't try to force a harvest when it's clearly time to plant. Don't push through work when your body and mind are signaling it's time to rest. And remember, just like in nature, seasons always change. Nothing lasts forever. So if you're in a difficult season right now, maybe one filled with uncertainty, fatigue, or frustration, hold on. Take heart. This too shall pass. A new season is coming, and when it does, you'll be stronger, wiser, and more prepared for what's next. Now, as we begin to wrap up our time together, I want to bring the focus back to something at the very core of true productivity: purpose. Because here's the truth: productivity is not the goal. It's not the destination. It's the vehicle that helps you get to something greater: a life of purpose, fulfillment, and meaningful contribution. You can master every productivity hack in the book. You can organize your calendar, block your time, and eliminate distractions. But if you don't have a clear sense of why you're doing any of it, then what's the point? You may be efficient at checking boxes and getting things done, but if those tasks aren't aligned with a deeper sense of meaning, then you're just being busy, not truly effective. Purpose is what gives direction to your effort. It helps you filter through the noise. It shows you what's merely urgent and what's genuinely important. Purpose gives you something to lean on when things get tough, when you're tired, overwhelmed, or tempted to give up. It's the foundation that turns pressure into persistence. So, let me ask you, what's your purpose? What gets you out of bed in the morning when you'd rather hit snooze? What kind of impact do you want to make? What legacy do you hope to leave behind? These are not easy questions. They require reflection. And the answers? They may change as your life evolves. But asking them, wrestling with them, is essential if you want to move beyond surface-level productivity and into something deeply meaningful. And here's something that matters just as much. Your purpose doesn't need to be grand or world-changing. It doesn't have to be headline-worthy or monumental. It just needs to matter to you. Your purpose is personal. It should be rooted in your values, your passions, and the gifts that are uniquely yours. For some people, purpose is found in raising children. For others, it's in building a business, mentoring others, creating art, teaching, healing, serving, advocating, innovating. There are countless ways to live a life filled with purpose. The real key is identifying what matters most to you, and then aligning your time, your energy, and your attention with that purpose. When that alignment happens, productivity begins to flow naturally. You no longer have to force focus. It comes because you're drawn to what matters. You begin to let go of the distractions and busy work that once consumed your time. You start becoming more effective, more impactful, and ultimately more fulfilled. And that, my friends, is what it's really about. It's not just about being busy. It's about being productive in a way that serves a purpose that's meaningful to you. Let me leave you with one final thought. Your time is your life. Every hour, every minute is a non-refundable moment. Once it passes, it's gone forever. So how you spend your time is how you spend your life. That's why it's worth asking. Are you simply staying busy, or are you truly being productive? Are you filling your days with endless activity, or are you filling them with real accomplishment? Are you just passing the time, or are you using that time to move closer to your most meaningful goals and dreams? The choice is yours, and it's a choice you make not just once, but every single day, every hour, every moment. So choose wisely. Choose to be productive, not just busy. Choose to focus on what truly matters. Choose to invest your time with purpose, not just spend it without direction. And here's the encouraging part. It's never too late to change course. If you've been trapped in the cycle of busyness, you can break free. If you've been pouring energy into the wrong things, you can begin today to refocus on what's right. If you've been confusing activity with accomplishment, you can learn to tell the difference and shift toward work that really counts. The past is over. The future is unwritten. All you truly have is this moment, this very choice in front of you. So the question is, what will you do with it? I believe in you. I believe you have the capacity to live with clarity, to pursue your highest goals, and to contribute something meaningful to this world. You don't have to do more. You just have to do more of what matters. Thank you for spending your valuable time with me today. Now go out and make the most of the time you've been given, not by staying busy, but by being truly productive. Not by doing more things, but by doing the right things. Because in the end, success isn't measured by how many hours you put in. It's measured by what you put into those hours. Make them count. Make them matter. Make them meaningful. Wishing you health, happiness, and purpose. And don't forget to subscribe to Mindset Daily for more inspiring content just like this.